sky darkened in minutes, sand lifting from the ground like it had been waiting. The wind tore across the desert, hot, violent, relentless. Elias Reed pulled his hat lower, his grip tightening on the reins. He had seen storms before, but this one felt wrong. The world blurred into brown and shadow. Shapes disappeared, sound twisted, like something alive was moving through it. He should have turned back, but there was nowhere to go. Then, something on the ground. At first, just a shape, half buried in sand. Elias slowed his horse, eyes narrowing through the storm. Not debris, a person. He was off the saddle before the thought finished. Dropping to his knees, he cleared the sand away with both hands. A woman, curled in on herself, barely moving. Her skin was cold, wrong for a desert like this. Her breathing, too faint. Hey, stay with me." No response, just the storm tearing past them. Elias pulled off his coat, wrapping it tight around her shoulders. She was lighter than he expected, too light, like something inside her had already started to fade. "Not today," he muttered. He lifted her carefully, fighting the wind as he pulled himself back onto the horse. Every step was a struggle. The storm pushed harder, but he didn't stop. "Hold on," he said under his breath. "Just hold on." He didn't know her, didn't know where she came from, but something in him refused to leave her there. The ride stretched longer than it should have. The shack didn't appear until the last second, a dark shape cutting through the storm. Elias didn't slow. He kicked the door open, carrying her straight inside. The air shifted instantly, from chaos to stillness. He laid her near the fire, hands already moving. More wood, more heat, anything to bring her back. Time passed. He didn't count it, didn't sit, didn't rest, just watched her breathe, barely. He tipped a little water to her lips, slow, careful, waiting. Then, a movement, small, but real. Her fingers shifted first, then her eyes, opening slowly. Unfocused at first, then finding him. Fear, confusion, and something sharper beneath it. "You..." Elias leaned back slightly. "You're safe." She didn't answer, just watched him, studying, measuring, like she was trying to understand him, not trust him. "You could have left me," she said. Her voice was weak, but steady, too steady. Elias met her gaze. "Could have, but I don't leave people to die." Silence settled between them, but it wasn't empty. It held something, quiet, unfamiliar. Her eyes didn't soften, didn't thank him, didn't break. They held steady, strong, unshaken. That was the moment he realized saving her was the easy part. Understanding her, that would be the real storm. The storm didn't leave that night, or the next. By morning, the desert outside had changed. No tracks, no direction, just sand and silence. They were alone. The first day, she barely moved. Elias kept the fire alive, checked her breathing, said little. Not because he didn't have questions, but because something about her told him she wouldn't answer them. By afternoon, she sat up. Slow, controlled, like pain was something she was used to. She didn't ask where she was, didn't ask who he was, just looked around the room, taking everything in. Doors, windows, distance to the fire, where his rifle rested. Elias noticed. Of course he did. "You planning something?" he asked quietly. She glanced at him, just once. "Just understanding where I am." That wasn't the answer of someone afraid. By the second day, she was on her feet. Weak, but steady. Too steady. "You heal fast," Elias said. She shrugged slightly. I don't like staying down. That, he believed. She moved through the shack slowly, touching things, testing them. A loose hinge, a cracked plank. By evening, she had fixed both. Elias watched from the table. You always fix what's broken? He asked. She didn't look at him. Only what matters. Something in that answer stayed with him. They ate in silence that night. Not uncomfortable, but not easy either. Two people, measuring distance without moving. What's your name? He asked finally. She hesitated, just for a second. Ayana. Elias nodded once. Elias. Names didn't change anything, but they made it harder to stay strangers. On the third day, she stepped outside. The storm had passed. The desert stretched wide again, endless, open, dangerous. She stood there longer than she should have, looking out. Not lost, but searching. Elias leaned against the doorway. You got somewhere to be? She didn't turn. Maybe. Someone chasing you? That made her still. Then, maybe. That was enough. He didn't ask more. Didn't need to. Trouble had a way of showing itself. That night, the silence felt different. Heavier. Elias set his cup down slowly. His eyes shifted toward the door. You hear that? Ayana was already listening, still, focused. Then, hoofbeats, more than one, getting closer. Her expression changed instantly. Not fear, recognition. That's not travelers. Elias stood, hand already reaching for the rifle. How many? She moved to the window, peering through a narrow gap. 4. Armed. Silence settled between them, but not the kind that freezes you, the kind that prepares you. They'll want shelter, Elias said. She shook her head slightly. They'll take it. That was the moment everything shifted. Not stranger and rescuer anymore, but something else. Two people about to stand on the same side of a fight. The hoofbeats stopped right outside the shack. Too close. Then, open up! A rough voice, loud, confident. We know someone's in there. Elias didn't move, rifle already in his hands, steady, quiet. Ayana stood near the window, not hiding, watching, calculating. Another slam against the door. Last chance! Elias glanced at her, just once. She met his eyes and gave the smallest nod. No panic, no hesitation. They won't wait. Elias exhaled slowly. Then we don't give them time. The door exploded inward, wood splintering as the first man forced his way inside. Elias fired once, clean. The man dropped before he could take 2 steps. The others rushed in, shouting, guns raised, but they walked into something they didn't understand, because she was already moving. Silent, fast, precise. While Elias held the front, Ayana vanished into the side shadows. One outlaw turned, too slow. She struck his wrist. His gun hit the floor before he knew what happened. Another fired blindly. She slipped past him, like he wasn't even there. Elias pivoted, fired again. Another man dropped near the doorway. Behind you, he called. But she was already there. The third man hit the wall, hard. Air knocked out of him before he could even shout. Everything shifted. Fast. Too fast. The outlaws, just seconds ago confident, now backing up. Confused. Unsteady. Fall back! One of them shouted. And just like that, they ran. Gone into the dark. Silence fell again, but it wasn't the same silence. Elias lowered his rifle slowly, breathing steady, but his mind catching up. He turned toward her. Ayana stood near the broken door, still, calm, like nothing had happened. She brushed sand from her sleeve. No rush, no adrenaline, just control. "You've done that before," Elias said. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes drifted toward the night outside, toward where the men had disappeared. "Too many times." Elias stepped closer. "You could have run. You could have left when it started." Now she looked at him, steady, unshaken. "I don't run. Not anymore." Something in the air shifted again. Different this time. Not danger. Understanding. Ayana glanced at the splintered frame, then back at him. A faint, knowing smile touched her lips. "That's why you need a woman like me." This time, Elias didn't laugh, didn't question it, because now he believed her. Spring didn't arrive all at once. It crept in. The air softened. The ground stopped fighting back. The storm was gone, but something else had taken its place. Distance. Elias noticed it first, not in words, but in silence. The way Ayana stayed outside longer each day, standing at the edge of the land, looking toward the horizon. Not lost, but pulled. "You're thinking about leaving," he said one evening. She didn't turn, didn't deny it. "I'm thinking about where I belong." Elias leaned back against the doorway. "And that's not here." She hesitated, just for a moment. "I don't know." But that hesitation said everything. "My people," she continued quietly. "I don't know if they're alive, if they made it through the winter." Her voice didn't break, but it carried weight. "I can't pretend that doesn't matter." Elias nodded once. He understood that kind of pull, more than he wanted to. "Family doesn't let you forget," he said. She turned then, looking at him fully. "And you? Don't you have anyone?" A small, almost bitter smile crossed his face. "Not anymore." The words stayed between them, heavy, unspoken. "You saved me," she said. "Gave me a second chance." Elias shook his head slightly. "You don't owe me anything." "That's not what this is." She stepped closer, slow, certain. "It's not about owing. It's about choosing." Those words landed deeper than he expected, because he knew what she was really asking, and he wasn't ready for the answer. The next morning came too clean, the sky clear, the air still, the kind of day meant for leaving. Elias stepped outside. She was already there, saddling the horse. No hesitation this time. No doubt. This was real. He walked over without a word, checked the straps, tightened the saddle, anything to keep his hands busy. "You don't have to do that," she said gently. "I know." He didn't look at her. "I want to." When everything was ready, she turned to face him. They stood there, closer than before, but further apart than ever. "You changed my life," she said. "More than you think." Elias swallowed, gave a small nod. "You did the same." Her eyes searched his face, like she was looking for something to hold on to, or a reason to stay. "Come with me." The words came suddenly, sharp, real. Elias blinked once. "What?" "Come with me," she repeated. "You don't belong here, any more than I do." He looked past her, out across the land, then back at the shack behind him. This place, his silence, his routine, it had been everything for too long. "I can't," he said quietly. Something flickered across her face. Surprise, not anger, just understanding. Then I have to go. Elias nodded, even though something inside him tightened, harder than he expected. She mounted the horse, hands steady on the reins, but she didn't move right away. She looked down at him one last time. "You still need a woman like me," she said, her voice softer now. Not a challenge, not a warning. Something else. Something closer to truth. Then she turned and rode. Elias stood there, watching, until she disappeared into the horizon. The land was the same. The shack was the same. The wind still moved the same way. But something important was gone. The days after she left felt longer than they should have. The shack didn't change. The fire still burned. The wind still slipped through the cracks. Everything stayed the same. Except it didn't. Elias tried not to think about it. He kept busy, fixed things that didn't need fixing, rode farther than usual, stayed out longer than necessary. But no matter how far he went, it followed him. Her voice, her presence, the way she looked at him, like she saw more than he said. One evening, as the sun dropped low over the desert, Elias stood outside the shack, staring at the horizon, the same direction she had gone. He exhaled slowly. "You let her go," he muttered, and for the first time, it didn't feel right. Then he froze. The sound came again, closer this time, real. Elias turned slowly, almost expecting nothing, but she was there, riding straight toward him. The wind caught her hair, the light behind her turning everything gold, and her eyes locked on him, like she had never truly left. She stopped just a few steps away. Silence settled between them, but it wasn't heavy anymore. It was alive. "You came back," he said quietly. She stepped down from the horse. "I told you. I had to find where I belong." Elias swallowed. "And did you?" She walked closer, slow, certain. "Yes." He searched her face. "Then why come back here?" She reached out, placing her hand over his, warm, steady. It wasn't a place. Elias felt his chest tighten. Then what was it? She held his gaze. No hesitation this time. No doubt. It was a person. The words hit deeper than anything she had said before. Elias didn't speak, didn't move. For a second, he didn't trust himself to. "What about your people?" he asked finally. "They're safe," she said. "I found them." A small breath. "But I also found something else. Myself." Elias nodded slowly, taking it in. "And you chose to come back here?" She shook her head slightly. "No, I chose you." That was it. No more questions, no more distance. Elias stepped closer. Just one step, but this time he didn't stop. "You once said, 'I need a woman like you.'" She tilted her head slightly. "I remember." He shook his head, a faint smile, real this time. "I don't need you." Her expression flickered, just for a second. Then he continued, "I choose you too." That was all it took. A real smile spread across her face, warm, unguarded, the kind that reached her eyes. And for the first time, neither of them looked toward the horizon. Neither of them thought about leaving, because something had changed, something simple but undeniable. Home wasn't where you ran to. It was who you stayed for.